All right, so this is version 12.5.4.1, and I'm basically going to show an area where we have to make a left fork coming up, and it should stay on the left lane, but for some reason FSD always seems to want to go into the middle lane instead of the left lane when we have to make a left fork right there, which you see up in front. So this lane, if you see the arrows on the road, is allowed to go straight and to the left. The lane to my left, the arrows on that lane allows cars to go basically make a left turn and also go to the left fork. And in the left fork, there's two lanes. So the better choice would be to basically be on the left lane so that it's a little bit easier to get onto the fork. If I'm in this lane, it's possible the car on the left could block me from getting into that left fork. But for some reason, FSD always wants to move into this lane. Even if I'm on the left lane, it always wants to move to this middle lane when taking the left fork. So I think the judgment with FSD could be improved a little bit in these type of areas. Okay, and sometimes it does miss the fork, so I have to disengage over there. Sometimes FSD takes the fork, and sometimes it decides to just go straight and miss the fork, and then we would have to basically I would have to get onto the highway at the next exit. So still, FSD has some issues following the navigation as well as making the better decisions as to which lane to be on when it needs to take a fork or a turn. And overall, the versions are very good. I have no issues anywhere else. This video, I'm basically pointing out all the issues that I typically see, which is not many. It's just a few. But other than that, the FSD works very well. I've had 1 hour long drives with no disengagements, and this happens a lot of times. And if I do disengage, it'll just be it's not a critical disengagement. It would just be disengaged to move around cars or basically stay in a lane that I prefer to stay in, but it's not critical disengagements. So just like the one that we just went through right now with the fork, that's not really a critical disengagement. If I allowed FSD to do what it does, it probably would have found its way back on to the highway and basically eventually get to the destination that was set. So these aren't critical disengagements at all. It's just like a preference thing that I wish FSD would improve on. Also, another thing I noticed, again, it's not critical. The speed limit here shows 50, but it's going at 46, and I'm not sure why it does that. I know in my settings I did set it to the speed limit, but for some reason it always tends to go 46 in this 50 mile per hour zone, so I'm gonna just increase that. Setting I have now is on assertive, but it's not assertive enough. So as you can see, it's got to quickly move in right here. There was a little bit of gap, it didn't do it. There's another gap here, it could quickly move in, but it didn't do it. And now we probably will not be able to get into the lane, as you can see, so I have to disengage and take over. So in these areas where there's high traffic conditions, where there's not much space between cars, the car has to be a lot more assertive and just kind of get right in between the cars as quick as possible. And sometimes that means jumping in front of a car rather than just waiting for an opportunity where there's a lot of space, or the car behind is far back and there's plenty of room. It has to make the lane changes with barely enough room to fit in, and it has to do so by moving into the space and basically forcing the car behind to slow down so it doesn't hit you, or basically just let you in. So the FSD right now is not, it doesn't seem to be programmed to do those type of maneuvers in these crowded situations. But hopefully in future versions it'll be able to train the system in these type of circumstances a little bit more, which is definitely going to be needed in city driving conditions like in Manhattan or other busy cities. See, again, it's okay. See, Tesla is too slow in these areas. There was plenty of gap between the car in front and the car behind, and the car could have easily went in to the lane, but for some reason the Tesla just kind of froze there when it had plenty of room to move into the lane. So again, it keeps that's the thing with FSD is whatever issue you have with FSD, it always occurs. So it's very consistent, which is a good thing. So once they fix the issue, it should consistently never happen again. So I'm just waiting for FSD to make that change, where it's a little bit more assertive in areas where it has to change lanes, or basically move into lanes with very little space in between it. On a straight highway like this where there's no lane changes being made, FSD rarely ever makes a mistake. In these areas, the only mistake I can see occurring is if there is a pothole in the road. The Tesla doesn't seem to be able to see potholes, and there are a lot of potholes in New York City, just because the snow and the salt that is sprayed and all the trucks that go over, the salt trucks, they have chains on their tires, which damages the roads during these conditions. So FSD cannot see potholes yet. I've hit a few potholes with FSD on, so that's how I know that the FSD does not recognize potholes yet. So hopefully they'll be able to add that so that FSD does recognize those potholes.